Hey there kids, it's me, MrCreepyPasta, and I just want to talk to you frankly for just a second before we move on to tonight's story. So I know there's a lot of things that are surrounding YouTube lately about demonetization and how the horror community is taking a really big hit because it's becoming difficult for us to make this sustainable. And I just want all of you to know that at no point am I going to be ending my channel or ending the content that you guys are used to seeing because of that. Because this is what I love doing, and I feel like I owe it to all of you to continue doing it. That being said, with the demonetization and this really big hit to really disturbing content, here's a story from Unsettling Stories about a guy who fucks spiders into his wife. Like all good stories, this one begins with a testicle self-exam, or as it's colloquially known, jerking off. It was my last day in Guatemala, and I was sitting in the hotel, waiting to go to the airport, and abusing myself to help pass the time. Things were going as well as could be expected, until they, weren't. My left middle finger brushed up against a lump on my right testicle. The erection wilted like a prime rose at Chernobyl. I did a cursory examination, hoping it might be an ingrown hair, but I knew it wasn't. See, I didn't have the itchy pain of an ingrown hair. No pain at all, actually. I had all the telltale signs of a growth I absolutely did not want anywhere on my body, especially not on my balls. I mean, within 20 minutes, I canceled my flight, phoned Renee to tell her the flight was delayed, and called an emergency clinic to tell them I was on my way. Fast forward 8 hours. Interesting fact about Guatemala. Great medical care. I was examined, given an ultrasound, and told, to my enormous relief, that the growth was benign, just a cluster of fatty deposits. It'd go away on its own in a few weeks. I was on the next flight home. I got back to my house around 10 p.m. It'd been around 2 months since I'd seen my wife. Needless to say, we were both happy to see each other. I took a shower, scrubbed out the nooks and crannies, and did a bit of manscaping. The lump that had caused me so much stress only 24 hours earlier had already started to dissipate. There was a pretty good chance that Renee wouldn't even notice. I finished the process of making myself smell moderately fuckable and dried off and headed to the bedroom. Renee was waiting for me on the bed, and I could tell when I got home that there was a decent chance we'd be having a bit of fun. And I was right. I'll spare you the details, but it all went, according to our tried and true routine. Upper front pinching, lower front nibbling, lower rear licking, mouth-to-mouth slobbering, and genital-to-genital docking. 4 thrusts later, and I was wheezing, "Sorry, it's been a while," into her ear, and collapsing on top of her. I could tell Renee was stifling a laugh, and she told me not to worry about it. I rolled off her and stared at the ceiling, panting like a chain-smoking golden retriever, while I watched the rotation of the ceiling fan and silently wished I didn't have the refractory period of a glacier. I started to get itchy in a remarkably unpleasant spot. We're adults here, right? Okay, well, for lack of a better way of putting it, the tip of my dick felt like it was getting molested by a poison ivy plant. See, I started scratching, trying not to make too much of the irritation. Renee, of course, she noticed immediately. She started giggling and began to ask, "Are you seriously jerking?" Then she stopped and winced a little. "You okay?" I inquired, doing my best to wipe our combined goo off my hand without my wife noticing I was wiping it on her side of the bed. "Yeah," she told me, "just dry skin or something." "You almost ready for round 2? "Sure," I told her, lying through my teeth. "I'll be right back." I got up, and I stumbled my way through the dark bedroom into the bathroom to hopefully pee away the growing discomfort. Once in the bathroom, I stood in front of the toilet, mildly disturbed by the way the dim glow of the nightlight cast a shadow on the wall and made it look like I had a truly spectacular pair of breasts. Peeing helped the itching go away. For a second or two. Then it came back with a vengeance, not just the tip, but like all over the area. I gritted my teeth and leaned over to turn on the light. Then I screamed. A sea of tiny brown spiders swarmed over my dick, the front of my testicles, my left hand that had been holding on while I peed. I screamed again and squeezed myself, crushing the tiny things in my fist and pulling them away from me. Renee, who'd leapt from the bed after my first shriek, saw what was happening and gasped. I looked at her crotch and almost passed out. Hundreds, maybe even thousands of the things were leaking out of her and cascading down her right leg. She hadn't noticed yet. Pain, now not just itching, exploded from my urethra as another wave of the arachnids pushed themselves out of me. They journeyed no longer aided by the lubrication that was easing the passage of the first group. Renee finally discovered her own condition and split my ears with a shriek I was certain that would have shattered windows. She reached in with her fingers and pulled out globs of writhing baby spiders still trapped in the sticky confines of what I left following my profoundly disappointing attempt at sexual intercourse. I jumped into the freezing cold shower and tried to aim a needle of the shower water into the spot where the baby spiders kept pouring from. Renee ran out of the bathroom, but I didn't follow. I had my own problems, and gradually, over the course of a couple of minutes, the spiders stopped coming out. I turned off the water and ran to find my wife. All I had to do was follow the drops of semen-trapped baby spiders. I found Renee in the kitchen, her right leg up on the counter, attempting to dredge the remaining creatures from her anatomy with the hose next to the sink. She glared at me. The floor was soaked, but I figured it wasn't a good time for me to tell her that. I mean, she probably knew. I offered to help, but she just told me to leave her alone. Another few spiders crawled out of my tiny flaccid dick. I asked if she was sure. She told me she was. An hour later, after the last of the arachnids was purged from our respective anatomies, we got into the car, went to the hospital, and Renee wasn't very happy. It was a pretty long ride, and we sat in silence, doing our best to forget what had happened. We weren't very successful. See, I felt terrible, and I tried to add some levity to the situation. So, remember that time when all those spiders came out of my dick? I asked and nudged her. She snorted out an unexpected laugh and just said, "I fucking hate you right now." We left the hospital after 12 hours of ultrasound, x-rays, and hundreds of questions from every doctor in the place. Apparently, a spider egg cluster can look just like a fatty deposit on an old ultrasound. The same old ultrasound they used in Guatemala. No one could explain exactly how the spider egg had gotten there. But the doctor said weirder things have happened. And neither of us were particularly comfortable by that fact. And after we each got a clean bill of health, and 5 free bouquets of flowers from the hospital florist who told us every single person who worked at the hospital knew about what had happened, we went home. And that was that. We were finding cobwebs all over the house for almost 10 years after that, though. Memories.
Hey there, kids. It's me, MrCreepyPasta. You can certainly tell I am, because I sound like Mr. Creepypasta and not Tales of Tim. I wanted to take a second to tell you about the Creepypasta Collection Volume 1 and 2. Both are available now on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or anywhere else you can find paperback books. You can find stories in there from Aaron Shotwell, Wellhay Productions, and, well, let's be honest, I'm sure you want to pick it up for the story from Tales of Tim. He's pretty great. Check it out if you get a chance. Thanks, kids, and sweet dreams. Cash me outside. How about that?